Okay, this lesson is ratios to rates. Grab your piece of paper and pencil. You do have to take some notes. You have some example problems. Then you have a couple of problems to complete to turn into class. Grab your materials and let's get started. I can find ratios associated with the rate, including a ratio where the second term is 1 and a ratio where both terms are whole numbers when given a rate. I can recognize that all ratios associated to a given rate are equivalent because they have the same value. And while there is no physical way to divide two different quantities like 5 miles to 2 hours, I can make use of the structure of division and ratio to models 5 miles to 2 hours as a quantity to 0.5 miles per hour. Interpreting a rate as division of two quantities, or better yet, a fraction, is a first step towards converting measurements units using rates later in the module and dimensional analysis in high school. I can use this interpretation of a rate in word problems when multiplying a rate by a quantity, as in 5 gallons per minute times 10 minutes, which comes out to equaling 5 gallons over 1 minute times 10 minutes. My minutes actually cancel out to give me 50 gallons. Defining rate. A rate is a ratio that compares two quantities having different units of measure. Examples of rates: 20 ounces of juice for $4, miles per hour, cost per pound. Defining unit rate. Unit rate is a comparison of two measurements where the second term is 1. Example of unit rate: Jake typed 10 words in 5 seconds. Jake's unit rate is the number of words he can type in a second, so his unit rate is 2 words per second. So let's look at our first example. Gloria drove 250 miles in 5 hours. What was her average rate of speed? I can first start out setting up me a ratio. I know my ratio I have 250 to 5. And I'm going to set this up in one of my ways I can set a ratio, and that is in a fraction form. So I'm doing 250 to 5. My measurements are is miles to hours. It's miles to hours. I'm abbreviating my miles to hours. So now in order to find the average rate of speed, all I would need to do is divide 250 by 5. So I would set up 250 divided by 5. Goes in 25 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. Now I subtract. I bring down. I'm ready to divide again. 5 into 0 goes 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. I subtract and I'm finished. So the average rate of speed was 50 miles per hour. Example 2. Nikki can bounce a basketball 900 times in 20 minutes. How many times can Nikki bounce a basketball in 1 minute? Pause video and try on your own. Alright, so let's look at working out example 2. We're bouncing a basketball 900 times in 20 minutes. How many times can Nikki bounce a basketball in 1 minute? So once again, I'm going to set my ratio first, and I'm going to use the way I'm going to set this ratio is in a fraction form. So I take 900 to 20. And I can see that my measurements that I'm using is times and minutes. So I'm using times to minutes. I'm going to abbreviate minutes. So now all I need to do is actually go and divide 900 by 20. So I look at 20 into 90, divide 20 into 90, it'll go 4 times. 4 times 20 is 80. I subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. 9 minus 8 is 1. And I bring down. 20 into 100 goes 5 times. 5 times 100 is 100. I subtract, and I'm finished. So I see that Nikki can bounce a basketball 45 times per minute. So 45 times per minute. Have ready to turn in at the beginning of class. Miss Ulrich wrote 32 meatballs for a family in 8 minutes. How many minutes does it take Miss Ulrich to roll 1 meatball? Let's look at more on unit rates. The word per shows the rate. If you are giving the rate, like tons per hour or inches per year, that would indicate a multiplication problem. Other problems ask you to calculate the rate, and those problems would use division. Make sure the answer you generate makes sense to the problem. If it doesn't make sense, you may have used the wrong operation. So let's look at example 3. The Washington family went on a car trip during school break. The first day, they drove 12 hours at an average rate of speed of 52 miles per hour. How many miles did they travel on the first day of their trip? So the first thing we want to do is figure out, are we multiplying or dividing? So I can look up here and I actually see, because one of my keywords was if we had the word per in our problem. So I can see that we are talking with per in our problem. So that gives me an indication I'm going to be actually multiplying. So when I go to set this up, I actually see that they drove 12 hours. At an average rate of speed of 52 miles per hour. So this is what they drove, 50 per hour. And they want to know how many miles they travel on the first day of their trip. So on the first day of their trip, so we're going to actually multiply. I can multiply my 12 hours times 52 miles per hour. So I'm going to take 52, and I'm just going to multiply it by 12. I'm going to take 2 throughout my problem. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. My 0 is my placeholder. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5 is 5. Now I'm ready to add. 4 plus 0 is 4. 0 plus 2 is 2. And then 5 plus 1 is 6. So I see that in 12 hours, they would have traveled 624. And I'll multiply 52 by 12, sorry. Now, I can look at this because I have hours here with my 12 hours and hours on the bottom over here with my 52 miles. Those actually cancel out. So in the end, I'm left with just 624 miles. Moving right along, example 4, Miss Ingram earns $12.50 per hour. How much money will Miss Ingram earn in a 40-hour work week? Pause video and try on your own. Alright, once again, we want to figure out, are we doing multiplication or are we doing division? And I can look at, we've got the word per in here, so that indicates multiplication. If she earns $12.50 per hour, I'm going to go ahead and set up my $12. and this is per hour. My dollar sign is my dollars. I'm just going to write it out so we can look at it this way. Per hour. How much money will Miss Ingram earn in a 40-hour work week? So I'm going to put my 40 hours. And I'm going to be multiplying. Now, I'm going to be taking 1250 times 40. And I'm just going to multiply it out through here. And go back up here, I see I moved my decimal 2 places. So 1250 times 40 gives me 500. My hours will actually cancel out. So I will be making $500. Miss Ingram will be making $500 in a 40-hour week. Alright, so have ready to turn in the beginning of class. Mia spends about 1.25 hours per night, 5 nights a week on homework. How many hours will Mia spend doing homework on 22 nights of homework? Give your answer in decimal form. Look at example 5. The Mountain View Junior High gymnastics team boarded a bus to go to a gymnastics meet in another city. They were on the bus for 4.5 hours. They traveled 225 miles. What was the average rate of speed they traveled? So the first thing we want to do is figure out, are we multiplying or dividing? So we can go back up here in our problem and we can look, because it's asking us to calculate the rate of speed, that tells me we're going to be dividing. So I'm going to actually take the total number of miles that they traveled, which is 225 miles. And I'm going to be dividing it by 4.5 hours. So if we divide 225 by 4.5, we will actually come out to being 50 miles per hour. Have ready at the beginning of class. A jet travels 560 miles in 5 hours. What was the average rate of speed the jet traveled? And then our lesson summary, a rate of 2/3 gallons per minute corresponds to the unit rate of 2/3 and also corresponds to the ratio 2:3. All ratios associated with a given rate are equivalent because they have the same value. And then we can convert measurements units using rates. The information can be used to further interpret the problem. Here's an example. 5 gallons per minute times 10 minutes equals 5 gallons per 1 minute times 10 minutes equals 50 gallons. Have a good day.